What do you guys do on a bus? Like, do you guys sit there and read with a book? Or I guess most people just go on their phones, right? And just be doom scrolling. Maybe watch a video, a movie, a TV show, something like that. Maybe you play a game. I've seen some Clash Royales on the train, on the bus. Maybe you're like the unlucky one who has to stand, or maybe you like to stand on the bus because you don't like sitting down, and you lean against the wall, or have the hand on the pole, or have the hand on the little dangly thing that you have to hold on to if all the pole is occupied. you know for me, I kind of just stare into nothing. I usually have music playing though. I don't just stare into nothing. uh I have my headphones in, my AirPods, put some tunes on, maybe a playlist, an album, I don't know, something like that. But I stare into the complete void when I'm on the bus or the train or whatever. Like the other day, I was just staring at the person across from me, and they weren't doing anything. They were just on their phone. Just like, I think 90% of the people on the bus are on their phone, to be honest. And they're just on their phone. They're just looking. I'm just looking at them. I have no thoughts on them. I'm just looking at them because I have nothing else to look at. I don't look at the window. I don't look at the pole. Usually, I just look side to side. If you're wondering where I sit, I actually sit on the ones that are like center, like they are pointed towards the center. So I don't sit on those seats that are like facing towards the front of the bus, which I know some people prefer because they say they get dizzy or motion sickness when they don't sit according to that seating plan. But to be honest, I'll tell you right now, the most elite seating is the ones where it's sideways and you're staring into the middle of the bus, because you can look left or right, and if any danger comes, you can react. At least for me personally, like if I sit, my seating preference is going all the way to the back, or I sit on like I said, the ones that aim towards the center. I don't like sitting near the front, especially when there's so much space behind you, because you don't know what happens, and I don't like not being aware. That's just like not a safe. That's a safety concern for me, personally. But if you need to sit at the front, you need to sit at the front. That's why it's there. We got blue seats here in Canada, Toronto, where that's like priority seating. So there's nothing wrong with that. I used to love sitting in the blue seats when I was a kid. I was kind of like a hog. I like the blue seat hog because my favorite color is blue, and I was just like, wow, blue seats. And I would love to sit on that. My mom was like, no, these are for the disabled people or the whatever. But it's okay. They let me sit on it anyway because it's like whatever. It's a kid. I'll get up. I got up too, by the way. I got up if I saw an elderly person. I even get up sometimes these days. If I'm on a scene, I see an older person, I give up my seat. Not often though, because honestly, I sit in the back of the bus. The elderly people don't really go in the back of the bus, so why would I give up my seat up for like a high schooler? I'm not gonna do that. It's for them. Speaking of which, yesterday there was this gosh dang high school student. I try to mix up my timings on the bus in the morning. By the way, you should do that because you don't want people. I'm just paranoid all the time, but you don't want people tracking your schedule or whatever. But I try to take different timings. But in this particular timing, let's just say 7 a.m. The 7 a.m. bus, right? There's always this kid who comes on, and he's a high school kid. He comes on, and he always has his like card, and it's declining all the time because he doesn't put any money in it. But this driver, I guess he was fed up, and yesterday was a really bad day for me. I think that was just the start. The fact that was the start of my day was just a hint, a little foreshadowing of what my day was to come. Because yesterday was horrible. I get too busy. And I got really busy because it's the start of the month, and usually the start of the month it's busy. So yeah, shout out that. Happy March, by the way. But yeah, this kid, he came in, did the same thing, and I never see bus drivers do this. Like, in the amount of times I've taken the bus, I've had my job for 6 months now. Not once has the bus driver ever stopped for a person not paying their fare. This is the first time, and of course, it had to be yesterday. It was the first time, and he stopped the bus. He stopped it. He had the doors out. He got out of his chair. Like the driver sits in like a little cabin area, like his little box. He got out of the box just to shout at this guy saying, "Hey, you gotta pay the fare like everyone else does." And he's like, "The doors are open," and we waited there for like a solid 2 minutes. And he got him though. He got him. He was like nervous. He was sweating. He called his mom up. He's like, "Mom, he's like, sir, I don't know. Like, I just, it always declines my card. Blah 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 blah." He's making up excuses and whatever. Like, I get it. I'm not gonna be like shitting on him because he didn't pay. Like I was a broke high school student too. I was trying to get off the fare once in a while. But he was doing it, I guess, too often because he caught on. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. He kind of stood his ground. I didn't do anything. I didn't give a crap. Like, to be honest, I was already running a little late. Actually, no, I was pretty early, so I didn't care. So I was like, yeah, you know what, we can waste a bit of time. I ended up, and I was actually early to work too, so it didn't matter. But like, man, he really stood on his business. The kid eventually did pay up. He brought out his like pocket change and he put it in there. I remember he was like explaining to the driver. The driver was so chill about it too. It was like crazy because he was like calling him sir. They were calling each other sir, which I found was like a really respectful dispute. Like I really liked it. It was really interesting exchange. And I was wondering if it would happen today because I actually took the same bus. He was on the I had the same driver today, but the kid didn't come on today. I don't know why, but I thought it was a very interesting exchange, and I hope the kid finally fixed this card, because low-key lost a lot of aura. But I don't think anyone cares because we're all too tired to, think about it anyway. We're just trying to get to work. I felt a little bad for this other people. I saw this elderly lady shake her head, and felt kind of bad for her. But you know what? It's okay. Sometimes you gotta have this stuff happen to you, and I'll never get those 2 minutes back, but the kid learned his lesson, I hope. So yeah, anyways, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about actually a different bus interaction that happened also yesterday, which was very odd to me because it was a very, I don't know, it was like a weird interaction because, like I said, I stare into space when I'm on the bus. I don't really look at anything in particular. I just look into space while listening to my music. Now, this was when I was going home, so I'm at the first stop. So we get on the bus, and usually there's not that many people on the bus. You could get a seat. So I'm at my normal spot, my spot that's in like the middle, looking towards the center of the bus. I like that spot. Back of the bus, the middle, back of the bus, looking at the center. I like that spot. And we go through a couple stops, but this girl comes on, and like a student, like a university student, is what I assumed, because they looked about university. The reason why they caught my attention, though, like I would say they were fairly attractive, but that's not why I was looking at them. I was looking at them because they came on the bus with no bag on, okay? No bag on usually is like oh, what the heck? Like, that's very odd, I'll be honest, every person on the bus usually has a bag. I'll be honest with you, like, if you don't have a bag, you definitely aren't a regular bus user, is what I was thinking in my head. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at this girl. I'm like thinking, okay, so I wonder what her, I was curious. I wonder what her purpose is on this bus. I haven't seen a non-bag user in a while. So I'm like, maybe she's visiting a friend, maybe she's having a hangout. That's what I was thinking immediately. I was like, oh, she had a hangout. Maybe she's going to see her friend. Usually hangouts, you don't really bring a bag. You just hang out with your friends. And I'm like, okay, that could be one. Maybe she forgot her bag. That's also one. No, that wasn't really what I was thinking. I was honestly thinking the first one, she's going to hang out with her friends or whatever. She looked pretty nice. She was dressed up. I wouldn't say it was just like a regular, you go out outfit. It's cold here a bit in Toronto. So she had a nice jacket on. It was a black jacket. One of those like trench coat looking jackets, so it's like up to her like knee, it's like a very long jacket, long black jacket. And I was just thinking like, oh, like she doesn't have anything on her, like she has no bag. Interesting. I was staring at her because I wanted to know what she would do on the bus. I don't know if anyone else has this like mentality. You kind of like wonder like what other people are doing on the bus. She caught my attention immediately. I was like, I wonder what she's gonna do at the bus. So I was staring at her. Like, I was looking at her a couple times. I kid you not, she stared back at me. Like, every single time I looked at her. Like, we caught eyes. Even when she was getting on the bus, she caught my attention immediately. And then as soon as she got to, like, oh, she sat at the very back of the bus. The very back, the last seat, the back of the bus. So it was very easy to see her. And easy to see where she went. Especially since she was in my peripheral, basically. And yeah, I was looking at her. And as she was coming to the back, like, she was walking to the back. Like, we made eye contact, and I was like, oh, shoot, no, I was a little awkward, and so I just, like, looked away. And then, as she went and she sat down, as soon as she sat down, I took a little glance. I took another glance, but she was staring at me again, like, she was already staring at me. And I was like, what the f-? And I looked away, and I was like, oh, that's really odd. Now, throughout the trip, before her stop, it was probably, like, a 30-minute, like, she probably had a 30-minute bus ride with both of us together. On this bus in particular, going home, it's like an hour bus ride for me, okay? It's like an hour bus ride. And by the time, you know, she got on, I've already been on this bus for 15 minutes. So, you know, the 30 minutes that she was on, she's a little bit closer to the stop that I get off at, but I still have to ride a few more stops. But anyways, before I reveal what stop she got off at, throughout the 30 minutes of on the bus, like, again, I tried glancing at her like three more times, you know, just to see. I kid you not, each time she was either already looking at me or she caught me looking at her. Like, first glance, boom, she was already looking at me, so I had to look away immediately. You know, like, I'm just like pretending like I'm looking at something else. You know, when your eyes just kind of catch something, you're like, oops, I just, like, you know, I didn't mean to look at you. It's just like, you know, just looking around. Yo, that third time though, when she caught me looking at her, I like, ooh, shoot, my eyes went straight into the abyss. But anyways, after looking at her, glancing those few times, what I noticed was she wasn't doing anything. And I mean, absolutely nothing. No headphones on, no nothing, no AirPods. She had her phone out. I saw her a couple of times with her phone out on her hand to check the time. But she never, like, was like, when I was looking at her, she never was looking at her phone. I mean, obviously she was looking at me, but like, she never looked at her phone. And, you know, I saw her like for a split second, but she put it back in her pocket. And I was like, wow, is this chick really just staring into the void or looking at me or like what? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is unheard of, ladies and gentlemen, staring into the nothingness without, you know, raw dogging, no headphones or anything, you know, just staring into nothing. Now, usually when someone does that, they are paranoid. Like, they're very paranoid people. And what that means is that they have never ridden the bus before because they're you know, aware, you know. I tend to see that people who, you know, like, I've had people sit beside me before, had Google Maps. You can kind of glance at them. You see their phone and they have Google Maps open, you know, and you can tell, like, they're on their phone for like the split second, and then they look around and they're just looking to see, you know, what stop they're at. You know, they're looking around. I feel like the people who are lost are a lot more aware on the bus. And so I thought after those two glances, I thought to myself, okay, let's paint the picture here. No bag, raw dogging the bus. This chick is probably going to see her friend for the first time because they have no idea how, like, they've never been on the bus before. And that was my conclusion. I thought, wow, that's a very interesting thing. I'm coming back from work. This chick is going to go see her friend. That's neat. No, okay. We get to her stop, and it's probably the most obvious stop, which I thought of, but I didn't actually think she would get off at the stop, but the stop was the university. Now, she got off at this stop, and as she was getting off, I kid you not, like, she bumped into my foot, like, she bumped into my leg, and, like, we locked eyes for, like, a good, like, it was, like, an awkward, like, 20 seconds, man. Like, we locked, and I was like, oh, I said sorry, because I guess I'm prone to saying sorry, but I said sorry first, and then she's like, oh, sorry, and then we said sorry, like, 2 times to each other, and then we looked, and then she kept walking, she looked back at me, and then she got off the bus. And then, as the bus continued, like, low-key, I feel like she was, like, staring back at the bus. Anyways, it was really odd. It was really odd, and I just started laughing hysterically after the bus kept going because I was like, what the heck was that? That was such a weird interaction. Like, not only were they, like, we, like, stared at each other for, like, the entire bus ride, but, like, that little thing happened. And the university that she got off at was the university that I went to. And all I could think about is, why the heck did she not have a bag? You go to university without a bag? I'm so lost here. So then now my final conclusion is this. They live on campus. They live on campus, but I don't understand the reason. Maybe they're coming. I guess my final thought is maybe they went to see their friend and now they're coming back. They live on campus, they're coming back, and now they're done the hangout. That is the only explanation. You never raw dog, no bag, nothing. Like, I swear to you, that is like the most. Like, I just want to know the reasoning behind all this, because you come back, like, there's no way she's going to school. Like, there's no way you go to school without a bag. Like, how do you go to school without a bag? Like, that doesn't make, that doesn't make any sense. If she's coming home to school, why doesn't she have a bag? Yeah, anyways, I thought that was just the weirdest, most interesting interaction I've ever had on a bus. It probably didn't need to be this long of a video. But since you're already here, I just wanted to say thank you for listening to my bus story. Please leave your comments on what you do on the bus. Again, like I said, I just kind of stare into nothing. But, yeah, shout out the bus, man. Shout out the bus. I wish people would interact more on the bus, but I guess we're not that social anymore. So it's very unfortunate. Yeah. Anyways, see y'all on the bus.